Hey everyone, welcome back to CP Whiskey Creek. This video is going to be the last one for 2023 and going to do a little layout update of some things I've been working on for the past few weeks / months. So sit right back and let's get this thing started. So one of the first projects for the layout that I started working on was I wanted to improve the lighting. So I got some recommendations of these lights from my buddy Denny over at N-Scale Dystopia. So he got these lights through Amazon, so I decided to basically go with the same and ordered myself a set of them. They're pretty simple and easy to set up, and they come with a lot of wires that you don't necessarily need if you're just going to run them as a big giant continuous string, because you can basically just link them all together and slap them up onto the ceiling and basically really improve. That's a sign that I made. But yeah, it really changes the scope of the lighting and the layout and gets rid of a lot of the dark spots. So very happy with adding this along. Basically had them run in one continuous link, so as soon as I turn on one, then everything is much brighter. So very happy with adding that to the layout and adding this brighten up my day. Really, I'm only left with one tiny little dark spot, which is kind of near where the bridge is underneath, where I have a shelving unit that for like a model display. So I need to figure out, probably going to end up actually moving that model display somewhere else, so it doesn't really fit in with the train decor because they're all the plastic scale models. So, but that's another day project. Another project I worked on was adding a little bit of a barrier for the bottom of the layout. This way it protects all the wires from the rabbits that live in the basement. They like the what's known as spicy hay and chewing up everything. So I created a little barrier around to keep these guys out. And then the final project is adding a little section, basically adding an extra few 8 inches beside the bridge. So does everyone else have this problem of any flat space become storage? So what I started off doing was ripping down some 3-inch strips of just some scrap wood, and that's going to act as basically the underneath shelving, my train related push stick. So I created 2 of those to go underneath, and then had to obviously clean everything off of the layout, and especially in and around, because right where that separation is from that left loop and to the bridge module, then all that is going to be separated apart, and then another 8-inch module is going to go in there. It may not necessarily stay as an actual module. I may screw it into one or both of the modules that it's connecting to, but it's just basically adding a little bit extra real estate, and also hopefully sorting out that issue. If you saw one of my previous videos where I had the Scale Trains locomotive and it was bottoming out because everything wasn't level, so that's sort of part of the same process. I'm going to level out the area and add a little bit of extra space. So as you can see here, here's where part of my problem is nothing is actually level with each other. So between the 2 modules, and you can actually see the far track, how much of a hump is basically created by that. So, and the other thing that I found out through this is part of the middle section of the bridge is actually slouching, dipping down. So hopefully this will create a little bit of a lift and level everything out, and will improve my track running. So the next step that I need to do is disconnect the wiring for the end loop module. So luckily, because I attached everything using those little screw caps, then it just unscrews and everything's disconnected now. And so this gives you an idea of the size of my add-on. So it's 8 inches wide and 12 inches deep. The depth matches the rest of the layout, and the 8 inches comes from this little gap that I have to whatever that little stick out for the wall is. So before I start doing anything, I'm actually going to build the shelf itself. So I'm going to mark out where all the studs are, and this is going to allow me to screw right into a stud. Not that this is necessarily going to be a heavy thing, but it's still, I want all the extra support. So here's my 3-inch strip, one of them, that I ripped down, and this is going to help sort of create some stability as I separate things, because that center bridge module is connected to the end module, and when I disconnect them, then I want it to, well, stay in place. So once I have everything marked out, I can actually start slapping in the shelf brackets that are actually going to hold up the layout from now on. So with the shelf brackets in place, now is the time that I can actually separate and move the end module out of the way. One thing that I actually found when I separated from the bridge module is I didn't actually have all the unijoiners and Unitrack actually connected to the bridge itself. So some of the Unitrack actually came off of the bridge very easily, and that's because they're only connected by one unijoiner. So that was probably also creating some of my electrical issues that I was having. So obviously I took the opportunity to fix that, and now I've moved everything out of the way and it just slides right into place. So since I'm making a weird shape, at least in the sense of the width, that it's not necessarily consistent with what Kato makes Unitrack for, I'm just going to actually put in some flex track in between to bridge the two areas. So as part of that, I'm basically marking out where I'm going to put some cork down and then put the track on top of the cork. So I just want to sort of extend where both of the ends, I guess you can say, of both the loop and the bridge area, where they extend out, and then it's just basically a straight shot across. Now Unitrack is compatible kind of with FlexTrack. The one thing that obviously you need to do is take off all the end joiners. So it comes with the little Kato joiners. So if you remove those and it's just leaving the end flush, then the FlexTrack will go in a little bit easier. Still needs a little bit of work, which I'm about to get into, but you'll make things a lot easier for yourself if you take those out first. So now I'm ready to glue down my cork. So I'm just going to use some simple white craft glue, lay that down, and then I've already cut my pieces of cork to size and just sort of shimmy them around to spread the glue out a little bit. And once they're all in place, then I'm going to put some weights on top of them and leave them overnight and let them sort of dry in place. They're going to be horribly oversized, especially when trying to match up with the Kato track, but once I get them into place, then it's a lot easier to sand them down. So as you can see, there's quite the height difference between the Cork and the Code 80 track and the Unitrack. So I have to shave down both the Cork as well as the track, or at least I'm going to shave down the rail ties. So took both of them out to the garage and just started sanding away until I got myself a lot closer to the depth that they need to be, or the height, I guess, so they would actually match up with the Caddo truck. With all the work on a sander, I injured myself trying to put on some joiners. Go figure. With all the sanding completed, time to put everything back into place, get the track joined up and all the wires for the electrical hooked up, and no better time than now for a test run. And I'm using the Scale Trains locomotive that I had some issues with it bottoming out because the track wasn't level, and very happy with the test run. All the module needs now is a coat of paint and maybe a couple trees. Speaking of trees, I started this year a train tree, which for Christmas I ended up actually getting a couple more ornaments to add to it. And I also got a new book, and I got 2 more tank cars to use for the whiskey operations, as well as that elusive building that now I can start building that area. And last but not least, I also got a new tripod for the layout. So that brings an end to this layout update, and it brings an end to 2023. So thank you everyone for traveling along this year and years past, and can't wait to see you in 2024. So happy holidays, happy new year, and see you in a year.